Lee Whittaker here, and we are doing a club fitting today, and I've got a very special guest with me today. His name's Ed.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm good. What have you come down for today?
To check out how good I am with these. Not.
What have we got? Rogue.
Callaway Rogue Pro.
Callaway Rogue Pro.
Hopefully, Lee's going to sort me out and see how the Orcas go after hearing about Alex and seeing everything online. So I'm going to see what happens.
So Ed is a bit of a magpie, and Ed changes his clubs quite often. And what he likes about Orka is the fact that he may not have to change his iron so much because of the after service that they do. So we're going to get Ed into the simulator. We're going to get him to hit his 7-iron, see what sort of distances, dispersion, spin rates, etc. we get. And then we'll see if we can fit him into an Orca and improve on any of those stats. So let's go and hit some shots. So Ed's hit 6 shots, and from looking at the dispersion, which I'll show you in a minute, and the numbers, this is going to be quite a difficult fitting to get better than, because he plays off 9.9, so 10, and by looking at this dispersion behind me, he's quite a good player. The current irons he uses, the Rogue Pros, are 31 degrees, so they are quite strong lofted. So we're going to see if we can challenge those numbers he's getting with weaker lofted clubs. Right, Ed, so if we look at your numbers, your ball speed's impressive, 118. The launch angle at 19 is there or thereabouts, is where you want to be, but spin on an average is down at 5.1. Distance is 172, is ridiculous with a 7-iron, especially someone like me who gets 155. Total we don't care about. Peak height is 31, so you're there or thereabouts. It's perfect for peak height, and your descent angle at 46. So Ed, we've looked at those numbers, and apart from slightly down on spin, why do you want to change your clubs?
For me, the main reason I was here, or the reason why I came, was basically listen to the Alex on the podcast. For me, the whole family brand, the customer service, all the stuff, he's a very good salesman. I'm bought into his clubs. I haven't even tried them yet. I'm just keen to kind of go through, like every year I seem to buy a brand new set of clubs and the Callaway and stuff. If I can get the same clubs or better, I feel that I've got more invested in the clubs and the golf that I'm doing than I necessarily would have from a big brand like Callaway. So for me, it's family brand ethos seems to be very good.
So yeah, so you can see with Ed, he actually doesn't need to change his clubs. His spin numbers are possibly down, but you know, he's that good a player, it's negligible. But he's here to get fitting, so we'll try and see if we can match those numbers with 5 degrees weaker 7-irons. His dispersion is pretty good as well. The average is 8 yards to the left, but in total there's a 20-yard dispersion from left to right, and there is a 8-yard dispersion from front to back. So let's see if we can tighten the dispersion at least, get the spin up, and give him more controllability. Right, Ed, head. What we'll get you to do is we'd rather you choose the head you want to look at, because at the end of the day, you're playing golf with these clubs. So which one do you like the look of, and which ones do you want to play? And we'll try and fit around that first.
So at the moment, I've already had a brief look at those, and these ones for me are too thick from the top line. Yeah, they're too. You're too good for them, yeah. Ed. I'm assuming it goes from like more expensive.
So these one there is a CTI. This is the most forgiving. It goes in order of forgiveness, basically. Okay. These 3 are all forged. This has got a forged face. I'd say these are beginner, these are game improvement, and then these are, depending on spin, are pretty similar, because they've got different centres of gravity at different places. This is obviously a smaller head. This is kind of more bladey. This is the cavity back RS10, where the weight is more heel-toe. Yeah. And then obviously this is the GS5, where the weight is more heel-toe, but there's a little bit more weight in the centre. Yeah. But we can fit around anything you like the look of.
I'm looking at these two because I do remember when I used to try and hit a blade when I was 12 or 13, and it was horrendous. Obviously, it's completely different now these days. But for me, again, even though I've been playing 30 years, it doesn't. For me, it's just going to be try it and see what happens. I'm not, the proof's in the pudding of hitting it. So
okay,
let's give it a go.
Well, we'll try them all then. Right. So before we move on to looking at new clubs, I want to see where Ed's strike pattern is on his current club. So I've sprayed it with foot spray, and I give it to Ed, and just take a series of shots. I want to see what your strike pattern is. So looking at Ed's strike pattern, he hits majority of his shots out the heel. So the other thing we're going to try and do is centralise those strikes into the centre of the face, which will hopefully give him better launch conditions and better dispersion at the same time. So let's get him into a club and let's see if we can improve on what is already a good player. Right, so Ed, I've put you in the RS10 MB, which is the bladed type club. Don't look at the shaft because we're not going to tell you. I just want to know how it feels after a few shots. Okay. Right, Ed, top line is your old club, but you've got to take into account this is a 31 degree club, so you're going to get better ball speed. And that spin is actually really good considering it's technically a 6-iron in the set we're now using. So we've got 5 degrees weaker. The ball speed has slightly dropped to 114, but we can see you can get up to 118 and 116. Your total average is down by 17 yards, but you're technically a club less in what you're doing. So the gap in is, we could probably still get this up. Let's try a different shaft. So we've done the fitting and we'll show you the numbers in a minute. I'm just going to get Ed to hit his 8-iron to show him the gap in between his 7 and his 8, and where this 7 will sit into it. Bearing in mind his current 7 is effectively a 6-iron in what we're trying to fit him into as well. So I want to show him that his current 8-iron and those spin levels will be effectively what his new 7-iron will get to. Right then, Ed, so this top one here is your old club, which is a 7-iron, but we've determined is a 31 degree 7-iron. So effectively it's a 6-iron in the current set that we're testing. Okay. Numbers wise for a 6-iron are pretty spot on. 5 spin, 172 is where you want to be. Then we've tested loads and loads of different shaft options, and the best one we've come out with is this one. So bearing in mind this is a weaker lofted club by 5 degrees. Okay. We're giving you the same ball speed, more or less the same launch angle, which is quite good considering it's a weaker loft. Okay. We put the spin up by 1,000 on this, but for a 7-iron that is pretty much perfect at 6.2. Then we've carried it 163, so there is a 9 yard difference between your 7-iron and this 7-iron, but we've determined they're different clubs effectively. Giving you a total of 172, but the total is irrespective. And height is 33 degrees. Bearing in mind it's along the higher lofted club is almost perfect. But if we show the details, your dispersion front to back has gone to 5 yards. So from front to back, you average 163. Your worst shot is 160. Your best is 165, and your dispersion is in 11 yards from left to right. 11 yard left to right dispersion. Arguably, you take that out. We could take numbers out and make it as close as we wanted to, but they're going left. Just to prove a point, we used your 8-iron, which is we've determined is 1.5 degrees stronger than your 7-iron we've just tested. If we put those two together, so your 8-iron it's 2 mile an hour less than that one. It spins at 6.5, which is pants for an 8-iron. You want to be at about 7. And it's going 159, whereas this is going 163. So with a weaker lofted club again, we've gained you 4 yards on a club that is stronger lofted. Okay. Arguably, it's longer shafted, but you're a good player, so you're going to be consistent anyway. Yeah. But we did that 8-iron to show you've got a 13-yard gap between your 8 and your 7. But with this new 7, we've brought in your dispersion. So Ed, you've looked at the numbers now. We've determined you're a good player. So you're.
Okay, fair enough.
You're very consistent. Put it that way. Your short game must be crap. But so what a lot of people think is when they come to a fitting, they're going to get longer. But because of the degree difference between your 7-iron and this 7-iron, the loft difference, it's going to be difficult for me to get you further distance. But we've been able to control your club better. So your dispersion is 5 yards front to back, 11 yards left to right, as opposed to what it was originally. What do you feel you've got out of this fitting?
I mean, when I first walked in, like you said, going through trying to get longer and all that kind of stuff, for me, because my aim at the moment is trying to get down into the single figures. So it was nice enough for you to say that I'm all right, and it's nice to see the figures to try and prove it. I seem to have the speed, the club head speed and that kind of stuff. So for me, it's now the controllability. So I didn't come in here thinking I want to get another 20 yards. I don't need that. That's not what that's not what it's about. For me, it's how I can control it with a better, ideally a better club, something I can manage and I'm more confident with. I think that's going to bring me down to the next level rather than just I need to hit further and further. It's more of I've got the distance off the longer irons. It's the coming into the greens and kind of being a bit more pinpoint is where I'm trying to do. So dispersion wise, long, front and back, left and right, I'm really happy with now. It's so that's really why I'm coming here.
Yeah.
Apart from
to meet a legend.
Yeah.
So before we finalise any decisions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Ed to now do some shots with this to see what the strike pattern's like and see if we've brought that dispersion in a little bit within the club head, because it was quite erratic with his club. So let's see if we brought that strike location in a bit. So Ed, looking at that picture and that strike pattern, we've pretty much put them all in the same place. Now it's in the heel, so if we put that 1 degree flat, that will move the strike location further into the centre of the club, which will stop the dispersion that goes left with that club, which is what we've proved with those numbers. So it's going left. If we can bring that strike location in to the centre with a 1 degree flat, I think your dispersion, although it may stay 11 degrees left to right, it will move more into the centre. But the good thing about Orka is we will make this final decision between me and Ed about the final club build. It will go off and be built, and then Ed will come back for a club gap test and like an MOT. So we will test the strike location again on the built clubs, and if there's any differences or anything that needs to be made adjustability wise, we can do it with the final club. Right, so strike location, we've pretty much put it all in the same place. Yeah, I did it. Basically, you're just the robot and I'm making it all happen. Yeah. So you've brought, all by yourself, you brought the strike pout location into the centre of the club. I just drank coffee and watched from a distance. Like I said, we're going to adjust that angle, the lie angle, and then I think that will centralise it. But all in all, are you happy with what you've had done today?
For me, it's been a long day. It's hitting 60, 70, 80 balls or whatever we've done, but I've got a lot out of it. Dispersion wise, I'm a lot better with seeing the numbers and seeing where things are. It's given me more confidence to know where I was and where I can get to. And as we were talking before, for me, it's now getting down to the single figures. It's the fine margins. So for me, I'm a lot more confident. I've got competition tomorrow, so I'm not looking forward to going back to my clubs compared to these. So I'm going to steal some on the way out. But yeah, for me, I've got everything I need out of it. And as I said at the start of the video, it's more around if I can get stuff out of it, but also get the customer brand experience and knowing that next year we can just change certain things rather than go out by a brand new set of clubs. I can tweak it, so I feel I can work with Orka and Lee moving forward on my golf game to improve it in conjunction with lessons and all that kind of stuff. So for me, I've got everything I can get out of it, and it's worth travelling 3 hours to come see Lee.
So there you go. A lot of people think about fitting, it's all about distance. For Ed, it was all about dispersion. He wanted to get better controllability, better spin numbers, so he knows if he's getting into the greens, he's got a yardage front and back he knows he's going to be hitting. He knows that he's going to hit that green with the correct spin number and get the right reaction when he gets to the green, as opposed to wanting 10 yards extra. Or we can crank the lofts and give him the yardage, but for Ed, being a good player off 10, he was all about controllability, and I'd like to think that we've achieved that. I've achieved that. Not Ed, me. Ed just did all the hitting of the balls. I achieved it. But so Ed's going to go away and wish he still could order them today and have them delivered today. no can do. But otherwise, I've been Lee Whittaker. Drop a subscribe. Let me know what you think about this fitting, and give it a comment and a like. But otherwise, I'll see you again on the next video. See you later.